Well, John Merrick is a real person. He was a real person, and who had, starting with the age of 5, had this deformity that was beginning, that no one, even to this day, they don't quite know what it was. They call elephantitis, but they even say that's not really where it was. But basically, it affected him in every possible way you could imagine, by the way his bones were affected, growths, massive growths on his body, didn't allow him to speak. It was just pretty extreme.
Joseph Merrick was such an exquisite man. He just was masked in, sadly, all of this deformity, but underneath was just this, lovely, enchanting, exquisite person. And that's Bradley.
Well, the play sort of centers around this character and how the other characters act in conjunction with him. Mrs. Kendal, played by Patricia Clarkson, and Frederick Treves by Alessandro Nivola, and Anthony Pio plays Ross and the Bishop, and Henry plays Gom, all these different characters. And you just sort of see how they see themselves through this character, how they see themselves as different, how they justify their own identities. And he sort of functions as a bit of a foil for us to get to know these other characters.
I play Frederick Treves, Dr. Frederick Treves, who was a Victorian doctor who worked at the London hospital and discovered in a kind of sideshow, freak show across the street from his hospital, this man who was being displayed, who was terribly disfigured. When he brings him to the hospital, he makes it his project to turn him into a human being, to civilize him and to introduce him to society. And he realizes only too late that, in fact, all along, hidden inside this deformity was the most human person that he'd ever encountered.
I play a leading actress of the time named Mrs. Kendal. And so I walk in to meet this incredibly disfigured man, and what I meet is very moving to me. What I meet is one of the most beautiful human beings, one of the most beautiful souls that she's ever met in her whole life. And what ensues is this beautiful, chaste love affair between the two of them.
I know that I relate to this character and this man that lived, and so my hope is that people will walk away from the Booth Theater an hour and a half later feeling like they lived with this guy in a room for an hour and a half, and whatever they got from him, which is something that I got from him as a child, watching somebody's interpretation of him. And he's obviously impacted so many people, whether to write plays or direct films or write music. There's something about this man's spirit that has lasted over a century.